Hello, my name is Mark Black. In this video, we're going to look at how we would install IBM Spectrum LSF Suite 10.2 on a shared directory. So this is part of a series of videos, so if you're interested in other topics, there's lots more videos to look at. Okay, so we're going to use a shared directory to install components of the LSF Suite. Okay, so what do I mean by an NFS installation, or a shared directory installation? We're going to install parts of the LSF suite into that shared directory, and that can be either NFS or, say, Spectrum Scale. And then for the LSF servers or LSF clients, they're going to use that shared directory to access their binaries and configurations. Some components are still going to be installed locally, so for example, the portions of the Elastic Stack, so the beats, file beats and metric beats, they're going to be local. The Spectrum MPI will be local. For the LSF masters and GUI hosts, they are of course installed locally anyway, because for EHA purposes. So what does it actually look like? Well, we have a deployer machine, or this deployer machine may be part of one of these other roles. What it's going to do, it's now responsible for generating the contents of the shared directory. So it will look at its repositories and see, what architectures does it have, and then from those repositories, it's going to extract the components and place them into the shared directory. The GUI hosts and the LSF master hosts, they're going to get their configuration directory and work directory from the shared directory. So they're not going to get their binaries, because the binaries will, of course, be installed locally on these machines. But they will get their configuration from the shared directory. The LSF servers and LSF clients, these machines are going to get everything, essentially, from the shared directory. So all of the LSF binaries are going to come from the shared directory. All the configuration as well will come from that shared directory. What this means is that you can independently update the LSF masters and the GUI hosts independent of, say, the LSF servers. It also means that from the deployer machine, you can patch the contents of the shared directory from that box. Okay, so that's what a shared directory install looks like. So there are still some things that are going to be local, but for the LSF servers and clients, they're going to get the bulk of their files from the shared directory. Okay, what does this type of install require? Well, of course, you need either NFS or Spectrum Scale, and that has to be mounted on all of the hosts, including the deployer. Any system that doesn't have access to that shared directory will be flagged, and we won't install on that one. The other thing is that shared directory must allow root from the deployer to write to it. So in my environment, I've got a few machines. So I'm going to have my deployer machine, and I'm going to use it to create the shared directory. Then I'm going to deploy some LSF master and GUI host roles. So they're going to get the configuration from the shared directory. And I'll have one or two LSF server role machines, and they're going to get their binaries and configuration from the shared directory. Okay, so what do I need? Well, I need say a GPFS, or Spectrum Scale or NFS file system that I can use, and I need to be able to write to that from root. So I can use this quick little test here to test. So I cd to the directory, for example, say my /NFS directory, for example, and run touch test file. When I list that, I should see that it's still owned by root, right? So I run that quick test just to verify that I can write to that directory as root. The other thing I need to do is prepare the LSF inventory file with the list of all of the hosts that I want to install on. So I can do that quite easily, and you've seen other videos. I've done that step. The other thing I want to maybe do is check to see if I can actually access the shared directory on all of those hosts. So to do that, if I go to the deployer node, I can run these commands. So I go to the opt IBM LSF installer playbook directory, and then I can run this Ansible command. So I run Ansible, and I want to run on all of the hosts, and my inventory file is LSF inventory. I want to run a command, and the arguments to that command are ls, and then of course I would give the path to that shared directory, including that test file that I created in the previous step. If everything works okay, that should basically provide you with an output showing all of the machines and whether or not that was successful or not. If there were any machines that failed, well, we need to go and fix that, otherwise they won't be installed on. Okay, what else do I need to do? Well, I need to prepare the LSF config YAML file with the shared directory information. So what I need to do is the HA shared dir, I need to set that to none. When the NFS install dir is specified, that really implies a directory to use for HA. So we're not going to ask for two directories, we just ask for the one. In this case, we want you to fill in the NFS install dir with the path to that mount point. So in my example, okay, I set HA shared dir to none, and I set my NFS install dir to, some NFS or GPFS directory that I have mounted on all of the hosts. Okay, what do I need to do to prepare for the rest of the installation? Okay, so I need to build the contents of the shared directory. And I do that by going to the deployer node, again going into my playbook directory, and running the LSF NFS setup playbook. So there's the command there that you'll run, and that will go and look at the repositories on the deployer node and extract the contents into the shared location. Once I've completed that step, I can then go and deploy the cluster. So again, from my playbook directory, this time I want to run the playbook called LSF deploy. So that will go and deploy the software on the LSF master and GUI hosts and set up the necessary symbolic links and so on for the NFS directory, as well as install the local components on the LSF server nodes that are going to use the shared directory for the binaries. Okay, so let's go do a live install. So I'll show you my shared directory. I'll show you the configuration for that, and we can maybe run some of those tests too. And then I'll go and do the install using an NFS directory. And we'll do some basic verification. All right, let me switch to my live environment and we'll do that. Okay, I'm logged into the deployer node and I'm in the playbook directory. So here's my playbooks. I've also set up the shared directory and it's available here, /NFS marks NFS LSF. And in there, I've created a test file. And you can see it's owned by root, so I'm okay there. Root has write access to this directory, and we're preserving the ownership. Okay, so that's good. Let me go back to the playbook directory. Let's set up the LSF inventory file. Inventory. So I've specified one machine to be the master host. I've given it two machines to be LSF servers, so these boxes will be using the shared directory for the binaries. And I have one box set as the GUI host and the same box for the database. Okay, so that's set up. Let's go and test all of the machines have access to that shared directory. So I have a command here I can run. Let's see if I can find it. Yep, there we go. So it's Ansible all. We want to run on all hosts in the LSF inventory file. We want to use the command module with the arguments ls, my NFS directory, and basically I'm looking to see if all of the machines in the LSF inventory file can see that file. And sure enough, okay. So my three machines all have access to that file. So that means that shared directory is available on all of them. Next thing I want to do is set up the LSF config YAML file. So in here, the first thing I need to do, I need to set the HA shared dir to none. That might seem a little strange because we want to have a shared directory for HA, but if you have already defined the NFS installer, why not use that for the HA? So that's what we're doing. So automatically, if you define the NFS installer, we take it as also the directory for the HA shared directory. Okay, so I've already typed in the correct values here, so it's NFS marks NFS, NFS LSF. So that's set up and ready to go. Okay, maybe let's do a quick test of the configuration, make sure it's good. Small playbook, inventory, and we want to run LSF config config test. Okay, so that should run and shouldn't be any failures. Yep. Okay, they're all good. So configuration-wise, we should be okay. Now, this is the deployer node. So this machine is the source of all of the files for the repository. So I'll just very quickly show you where the repository is. It's here. So in here we have power and x86 RPM packages. So when we set this box up to be the, well, to configure the NFS shared directory, we expect it to provide both the power and the x86 binaries, so we can host a mixed environment. Okay, let me go back to the playbook directory and we'll go and set up the NFS directory. Opt IBM. So the playbook, what we want this time is this NFS setup playbook. So we always give it -I LSF inventory and the playbook. So we let it run. Actually, if you're very observant, you'll notice that this is doing the same pre-check that we ran earlier. And here we go. It's setting up the NFS, well, the shared directory for us. This may take a moment or two. This is the first time I've actually done it. Okay, it finished. So we can quickly check out and see what the contents are. NFS, marks, NFS, and IBM. So this is the shared directory, and you know, this looks kind of familiar to anybody who's installed LSF before. Let's see, do we have the, okay, yeah, we do. So we have the files necessary for both x86 and power, and it's hosted on the NFS directory, or the shared directory. So, okay, that's good. Now we're ready to deploy the rest of the cluster. I'll go back to my playbook directory. Now we run our deploy playbook. LSF inventory. Okay, and away that goes. So that's going to take a few minutes, so I'm going to just pause the video here. Okay, the playbook's finished, so let's go check out the results. So I'll log into the master host. 03. Okay, it's running. Hosts. And sure enough, there's my two machines. They're using the shared directory. Let's go log into one of them and see what actually happened. Oops. So we install typically an opt IBM LSF suite. So you'll notice here the LSF directory is actually coming from our shared directory. Okay, so that's it. Okay, let's review what we have seen. So you've seen how to install LSF Suite in a shared directory, and you've also seen that some of the components are still local. Uh, Really, the shared directory install is primarily for the LSF server and LSF client role machines. In the next video, we're going to look at how we will upgrade from LSF Suite to one of the higher editions. So we're going to start from the Workgroup edition and upgrade to either HPC or Enterprise edition. For more information, you can go to this link here. And once again, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that.